Hey everyone, it's good to be back with you again. This is Gabe and making you another video for Woven Wings. Today we are focused on SMART goals, on how can you make your goals for what you want to achieve, whether it's in your personal life, in your spiritual development, or in your work and profession, SMART, and actually take you to where you want to go. So this is related with the idea of accountability. And I'll say just at the outset, and I'll repeat this later, that having an accountability partner for the goals you set is really, really key. Just creating the goals is wonderful, but as we'll see, by making our goals SMART, we're going to be much more effective in actually achieving them. And then having somebody that you actually share them with and who you follow up with and who holds you accountable to whether you followed through on those goals is also going to be a big factor in all of this. Now, one thing I want to say before we jump into discussing SMART goals and how to make them is that if you follow this channel, you know that a lot of what we focus on here is holistic values. We talk about mindfulness, creativity, Qi and Qigong, emotional intelligence, and overall health and well-being. So if those things interest you, you can check out some of our other videos. But this video might seem a little out of place within that, but really, as I'm working with my clients day to day, this is really where the rubber meets the road, right? We all are wanting to do things with our lives. We're wanting to go places. And so it's not the classic dichotomy between living some sort of spiritual life or a slow-paced, holistic life out in the country or on the mountainside, and then zipping around and doing all your business and accomplishing your tasks and goals on the other. Really, what we're striving for is the blend of both, because that's life, right? Life is everything that we have, that we make it, and along with that comes our desires to accomplish things. And so take that perspective as you're following along here, and you can think about what you really are trying to accomplish. What are your goals right now of where you're trying to go in life? So let's get started. So SMART goal, SMART is an acronym, and it stands for specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. These are 5 perspectives, frameworks, checklists that we can look at when we come up with a goal and use it to make it SMART and make our goal more accomplishable. So the first thing is to be specific. And I'll give an example of this. I was working with a friend of mine who's a fellow Ren Shui practitioner recently, and we came up with certain goals coming out of this conversation. And there again, right, is the accountability partner. We were talking with each other about where we were at in our lives, in our practice, what we want to accomplish. And because our focuses are more around the personal, this wasn't a work colleague or anything like that. So his goal was that he wanted to experience more trust. And my goal was that I wanted to experience more self-love. And that's great. It's beautiful goals. But what does that mean specifically? How will you know that you actually are experiencing more trust or more love in the situation? Or if, to just use one other example from a work colleague, we're in a process recently of beginning to plan retreats here on Maui where we live. And the goals that we have, that's our big goal of starting to host and run retreats here on Maui. But what does that look like specifically if we want to advance towards that goal? How do we break that goal down into a series of small steps that we can actually take? And something you can really think through here is to ask the who, what, where, why, and when questions. What exactly specifically are we talking about? So if I want to develop more self-love, what exactly does that mean? What's the specific communication that I want to feel or express to myself in order to know that that's actually taking place? What are the activities or actions I want to take that will create that experience of self-love? So that's being specific. Let's get specific about what it is we're trying to accomplish. Next is measurable. How am I going to measure that what I've set out to do is actually being accomplished? So this is, again, building off of the specificity from specific, but now it's like, okay, so how do I know it? How do I measure it? What is the data that's going to show me that I have more self-love? Is that mean that I'm booking a massage once a month, or that I'm doing my Qigong practice, or I'm going to the gym, or I'm doing X writing activity. So there can be all sorts of different metrics, as that example shows, but we want to be clear on what those metrics are. How are we going to measure the movement towards our goals and whether we're achieving them or not? And this is really important because sometimes we set these goals and we put a lot of effort into goal setting, but then we don't actually know if we have accomplished them. And what we lose in that process is the ability to course correct on the one hand if we're not getting there, but it also takes us away from being able to celebrate our wins when we actually do achieve what we're looking for. So look for the data. How are you going to measure your goal's outcome? The third metric here is achievable. So the A in SMART is for achievable. This is the reality check question. This is the goal. This is what I want to do. We want to run a retreat on Maui. Is it feasible? Is it feasible? The specific goals that I'm laying out, can I actually go and do them right now? Or are there impediments and roadblocks that make that goal not possible right now, or that way that I'm conceiving it not possible? This is really, really important because sometimes we create goals that are not realistic. And I think New Year's resolutions and then everyone kind of falling off the mountain or falling off the horse, that's a classic example of that, right? That actually, I really want to do this, but then I recognized, probably because I wasn't specific enough and I wasn't measuring it enough, but it wasn't achievable in the way that I imagined it to be. So we want to do that reality check. Can I actually do this? Okay, the fourth one is relevant. Is the goal relevant? And that's something that is really important to ask. So in the examples that I've given, I want to show how they are relevant. On the one hand, these very soft goals around feeling more trust or more self-love, well, those are part of developing a rich inner life, a meaningful spiritual practice, and they are very much squarely within the tools and teachings of Ren Shui, which my friend and I who were talking are both practitioners of. And so that is a good example of, yes, these goals, though they are vague and need to be specified and measured, they are very relevant, right? They're very relevant to the direction that we're wanting to go in our lives. Similarly, with the example of running retreats and preparing to do that, doing the work to make that happen. Is that relevant? Well, that's a big question. It's relevant to me because that's where I live and it's the kind of business that I run. I do leadership training, I do coaching, I help people, and leveraging the ability, the place of Maui in service of that makes all the sense in the world. So it's very relevant to the growth of my business and for the kind of impact that I'm wanting to have in the world. But there could be a lot of things that maybe aren't as relevant, a lot of goals we might dream of that we need to double check. Wait a minute, like, I would love to climb Mount Everest, maybe not actually really, but if I wanted to climb Mount Everest, is it really relevant to what's actually important and what is the kind of the top line priority for what's happening in my life? And in order to answer that, I think that's where you kind of get into this deeper question of what is actually really important to you in your life? What is your goal? Sometimes this is pretty obvious when it comes to a work-related goal. There's the specific given purpose of a company that you work within. So the goal is relevant if it's furthering the goals of that company, right? But in other cases, and if you're an entrepreneur, this is actually a pretty deep question. And I think it begs the question that I'm always asking here at Woven Wings, which is, what is it that truly matters? And can you remember and connect to that and live from that space? So that's a deep question to be asking yourself and really checking your goals that come up for you against that. Lastly is T, time bound. When is this going to happen, right? So this is a really, really valuable one, and it's good. You need to double check it about whether it's achievable or not, the time frames that we give ourselves. I am personally 100% one of those people who is sometimes a little over aggressive with my time frames, and then I have to realize after the fact that okay, actually I need to recalibrate that. That wasn't realistic or achievable. But at the same time, giving ourselves those time frames is essential if we want to get things done. That's really what kind of helps anchor this whole process. So, okay, you've got your specific goal, it's measurable. When are you going to get this done by? Okay, you know it's achievable, it's relevant to your deeper purpose in life, to the bigger project that this goal is a part of. But so when is it happening? When are we going to have more details about the research into running retreats that I agreed to with my colleague, right? Set a particular time, and deadlines make us come to life a lot of time, like the theater, the show must go on, right? Opening night is happening at a certain time and something's going to transpire by then. So again, try to find that balance for where it is realistic that you'll actually get that done, and also that it's aggressive enough that it propels you into action, right? So SMART. There are more resources for this online that you can look up. There's variations to SMART goals that are worth learning about. We might do some additional videos on that. But for now, this is a really great start. If you're just trying to make goals and make some headway in your life, start by making them SMART. Get SMART yourself. Be specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. And lastly, again, find an accountability partner that you can work through that with and help make your dreams a reality. Thanks for listening and checking in with us, and it's awesome making videos for you guys, and I'll talk to you more next time. Take care.